In August 1590, an English governor stepped onto the shores of Roanoke Island to find his settlement completely abandoned. All that remained of the 115 men, women, and children was a single word carved into a wooden post: Croatoan. For over 4 centuries, history books have treated this as a chilling, unsolved mystery. But to Governor John White, those carved letters were a highly logical, prearranged relocation code. Before leaving for England 3 years earlier, White instructed the colonists to carve their destination into a tree or post if they were ever forced to relocate. And if they had to flee in danger, they were to notch a very specific symbol right next to the name: a Maltese cross. When White inspected the post, he checked everywhere for that designated cross of distress. The wood above the letters was entirely blank. There was no sudden, violent attack. The colonists executed a planned, orderly evacuation. The real question we should be asking isn't what killed them, but rather, where did they go? To understand their escape plan, we have to look at why they were desperate in the first place. When they arrived in 1587, a rogue pirate pilot refused to take them to their intended deepwater harbor, marooning them on the shallow barrier islands without military support or adequate supplies. While historians have long debated the conditions they faced, modern climatology finally looked inside ancient bald cypress trees to measure the exact agricultural environment of 1587. Looking at this tree ring data, you can see the year the Roanoke colonists arrived. That dark band of compressed rings indicates a severe megadrought. As the wide rings collapse into thin slivers, it tells us the soil was dead. The neighboring indigenous tribes, normally self-sufficient, were starving too, and had absolutely no surplus food to trade. Trapped in a dead environment with zero chance of resupply from England, staying on that island guaranteed starvation. The colony had to activate a desperate relocation strategy to survive. Modern historical consensus suggests the 115 colonists did not march off as one massive, vulnerable target. Instead, they split their numbers to increase their odds of survival. Part of the colony headed inland. In 2012, researchers at the British Museum analyzed John White's applied to hide sensitive information from Spanish spies. Under an ultraviolet backlight, the map reveals a glowing symbol hidden beneath that patch, a distinct 4-pointed fort 50 miles inland at a river junction. This symbol provided the exact blueprint, mapping a hidden route up the river for their relocation strategy. This image shows the expansive, modern archaeological excavation at that exact inland location, now known as Site X. Here, researchers digging through the North Carolina clay unearthed fragments of 16th century English utility pottery. We know this pottery belongs to the Roanoke survivors and not later settlers because of a chronological fingerprint. The site completely lacks clay tobacco pipes, which litter every single 17th century Jamestown-era settlement. That strict 16th century footprint proves that a splinter group of the Roanoke colony successfully followed their governor's map, moved inland, and survived. But that inland site only accounts for a small fraction of the settlers. The remaining majority of the colony followed the sign they carved into the post, heading south to Hatteras Island, then known as Croatoan, to seek refuge with the local tribe. Recent archaeological digs in the Buxton Woods on Hatteras Island have uncovered a specific byproduct mixed seamlessly within native artifacts: hammerscale. Hammerscale is the byproduct created when a blacksmith strikes hot iron, shedding microscopic flakes into the dirt. The Croatoan lacked ironworking technology. Because this dirt cannot be traded, finding it beside native artifacts means a forge was operating right in the village. Because this industrial waste is immovable, it places English artisans inside the village, living and working alongside the Croatoan tribe for years. That shared life left a permanent mark on the region. Today, historians point to the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina. As early as the 1700s, explorers noted that these indigenous communities retained the exact surnames of the 1587 colonists and frequently possessed physical traits like blue and gray eyes. Modern DNA testing confirms these families carry heavy European paternal ancestry. But science hits a wall here, because no 16th century colonist skeleton has ever been recovered from Roanoke to serve as a genetic baseline. Proving a direct one-to-one match is currently impossible. While a flawless DNA match remains locked away, The historical documents, the physical artifacts, and the metallurgical waste all align perfectly. The Roanoke colonists were never lost. When faced with starvation, they cast off their European identities, joined Native American families, and survived. So why has our culture spent 400 years insisting they were mysteriously swallowed by the wilderness? A tragic vanishing act fits neatly into a comfortable myth of European superiority. It was simply easier for later generations to accept that the settlers disappeared into thin air, rather than admit they willingly assimilated into indigenous culture to survive. The first true story of America is a documented history of cross-cultural integration and mutual survival.